There comes a time in every parent's life when the dynamic with their children begins to shift. For years, you pour your heart into raising them, guiding, sacrificing, and putting their needs first. But one day you notice a change. Perhaps they brush off your advice, dismiss your opinions, or even speak to you in a way that feels condescending. Worse, they might make you feel like a burden. This can sting deeply, leaving you frustrated, angry, or tempted to remind them of all you've done. But here's the truth, anger won't solve it. In fact, it often makes things worse. Instead, there's a more effective way to restore the respect you deserve without arguments, resentment, or conflict. Today, I'll share 6 powerful steps to help you regain your children's respect. These are simple yet transformative shifts in how you respond, think, and carry yourself. They may surprise you, but if you stay with me until the end, you'll discover how to reclaim your place as a valued, respected figure in their lives. Let's dive in. Action 1, stop chasing their approval. One of the most common mistakes parents make as they age is trying too hard to please their children. You might find yourself going out of your way to accommodate their schedules, saying yes when you want to say no, or prioritizing their needs over your own in hopes they'll appreciate you more. But here's a hard truth. The more you chase their approval, the less respect you receive. Respect isn't earned through endless self-sacrifice. It's built on self-respect. When you constantly bend over backward or suppress your own needs to keep the peace, you inadvertently teach your children that your feelings don't matter. Over time, they may take you for granted, assuming you'll always put them first. Consider the story of Margaret, a vibrant woman who in her younger years was fiercely independent. As she grew older, she began letting her adult children make all the decisions. She rearranged her life around their needs, stayed silent when they spoke down to her, and avoided sharing her opinions to avoid conflict. "I just want to keep the family together," she once said. But instead of unity, her children began to see her as someone who would always give in. They stopped valuing her presence, taking her sacrifices for granted. The solution? Stop seeking their approval. Start respecting yourself first. Set clear boundaries, say no when necessary, and voice your thoughts even if they disagree. When you demonstrate that you value yourself, your children will begin to see you differently. Over time, their respect will follow naturally. Action 2, don't argue, lead by example. When your children dismiss your opinions, interrupt you, or treat you with disrespect, your instinct might be to argue. You might want to remind them of all you've done or demand they listen. But arguing rarely works. Think about it, when was the last time a heated debate convinced someone to respect you? Respect isn't won through words, it's earned through your presence, your actions, and how you handle disrespect. Arguing often signals to your children that they have power over your emotions. If you meet their disrespect with anger, you reinforce this dynamic, making it harder to regain their respect. Instead, show them what respect looks like through your behavior. Take Frank, a retired teacher who commanded respect in the classroom but struggled at home. His grown children ignored his advice, dismissed his concerns, and sometimes mocked him when he tried to assert himself. Initially, he argued back, trying to prove he deserved respect, but the more he fought, the worse it got. Then Frank changed his approach. Instead of arguing, he listened calmly. He spoke with confidence and wisdom, refusing to engage in petty disputes. He carried himself with dignity, showing his children he didn't need to prove his worth. Slowly, they began to notice. They saw a man who was secure in himself, and their respect for him grew. If your children disrespect you, don't fight for their attention. Lead by example, stay calm, maintain your dignity, and never stoop to their level. When you respond with grace and strength, they'll feel it, and in time, they'll follow your lead. If you're finding these insights helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss future content. Your support helps us keep creating valuable videos. Action 3, withdraw your emotional dependence. One of the toughest lessons for parents is realizing you can't rely on your children for emotional fulfillment. You love them deeply and want their love and respect in return, but when they sense you need their validation, the dynamic shifts. They may feel burdened, leading to impatience or irritation. The more you seek their affection, the less freely they give it. People, including your children, respect those who are emotionally independent. When you depend on them for validation or attention, it creates pressure. They may pull away, feeling overwhelmed by your expectations. To regain their respect, focus on finding fulfillment within yourself. Helen, a kind-hearted mother, experienced this firsthand. After her children grew up and became busy with their own lives, she found herself waiting for their calls. When they didn't reach out, she called them, expressing how much she missed them. Instead of bringing them closer, this pushed them away. They began seeing her calls as obligations. Then Helen made a change. She stopped waiting for them. She picked up new hobbies, reconnected with friends, and focused on her own happiness. Surprisingly, her children started reaching out more. They respected her independence and began valuing her time. The lesson: the less you rely on your children for emotional validation, the more they'll respect you. Show them you're strong on your own, and they'll admire you not out of duty, but because they genuinely value you. Action 4, set boundaries and enforce them. One of the main reasons children lose respect for their parents is because parents allow it. If you tolerate disrespectful behavior, whether it's dismissive comments, interruptions, or disregard for your feelings, your children will continue. Not because they're cruel, but because people treat you the way you allow them to. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting off your children or starting fights. It means clearly defining what behavior you'll accept and standing firm when those boundaries are crossed. This shows your children that your time, feelings, and dignity matter. Robert, a retired businessman, faced this issue. Known for his discipline in his professional life, he struggled to maintain it at home. His adult children interrupted him, dismissed his opinions, and criticized his choices. At first, he let it slide, thinking it wasn't worth the conflict. But he realized his silence signaled that their behavior was okay. So he changed his approach. When his son interrupted him, Robert calmly said, "I'll continue when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed him, he replied, "You don't have to agree, but I expect respect." When they pushed further, he made it clear he wouldn't spend time with them unless they treated him respectfully. Initially, they resisted, but over time, they adjusted. They saw their father valued himself, and their respect grew. If your children disrespect you, ask yourself, are you allowing it? Set clear boundaries and enforce them calmly but firmly. When you show you value yourself, they'll start valuing you too. If you're still here and finding value in these insights, please comment number 4 below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated with our content. Action 5. Stop giving without appreciation. Parents often give endlessly time, energy, support without expecting anything in return. But when your generosity is met with entitlement or indifference, it can erode respect. When you give without appreciation, you teach your children that your efforts are expected, not valued. They may stop seeing your kindness as a gift and start viewing it as their right. This doesn't mean you should stop being generous. Instead, it means recognizing when your giving is taken for granted and adjusting accordingly. Respect is built when your contributions are seen as valuable, not automatic. George, a devoted father, exemplified this. He was always there for his children, helping financially, dropping everything to assist in accommodating their needs. But instead of gratitude, he faced complaints and entitlement. When he needed their support, they were too busy. Frustrated, George decided to change. He stopped offering help unless asked, said no when necessary, and focused on his own priorities. At first, his children were upset, unaccustomed to his boundaries. But over time, they began to appreciate his efforts. They realized his generosity was a gift, not a guarantee, and their respect for him grew. If your children don't value your time or kindness, consider whether you're giving too much. Set limits and teach them that your generosity comes with the expectation of respect. When they see your efforts as valuable, their attitude will shift. Action 6. Build a life outside of them. One of the most powerful ways to regain your children's respect is to show them your happiness doesn't depend on them. As parents, it's natural to make your children the center of your world. But as they grow, this can backfire. If they see you as someone whose life revolves around them, they may feel burdened or view you as lacking purpose. People respect those who have their own interests, passions, and sense of fulfillment. Eleanor, a widow in her late 70s, learned this lesson. After her husband's passing, she focused entirely on her children, constantly checking in and offering unsolicited advice. But this pushed them away. Their visits became less frequent, and their calls grew shorter. Feeling isolated, Eleanor decided to rebuild her life. She joined a book club, traveled with friends, and volunteered in her community. As she created a fulfilling life for herself, her children noticed. They became curious about her activities, admired her independence, and began reaching out more. They respected her not as a parent waiting for their attention, but as a person with a vibrant life. If your children don't respect you, ask yourself, do they see you as someone with a meaningful life or as someone dependent on their attention? Build a life filled with purpose, hobbies, friendships, passions. When they see you thriving independently, their respect will grow naturally. If you've made it this far and found these tips valuable, please comment number 6 below. Subscribe and turn on notifications to support our mission to create inspiring content. Final thoughts: regaining your children's respect isn't about demanding it. It's about inspiring it through your actions, boundaries, and the way you live. Stop chasing their approval because the less you need it, the more they'll give it. Lead by example, letting your dignity speak louder than words. Withdraw your emotional dependence, showing strength in your independence. Set and enforce boundaries to teach them how to treat you. Stop giving without appreciation so your kindness is valued, not expected. And build a life outside of them, proving you're a person with purpose and joy. When you make these shifts, your children will see you differently, not as someone waiting for their validation, but as someone who commands respect simply by being themselves. In time, their respect will return, not because you fought for it, but because you earned it through your strength and grace. Thank you for reading. Please share one thing you learned today and how you plan to apply it in the comments below. Your thoughts inspire us to keep creating content that informs and uplifts. If you found this helpful, like, subscribe, and share to support our mission. We look forward to connecting with you again soon.